Neighborhoods of Seoul, industrial zone, in a gloomy, deserted place, bandits are carrying out their showdown and someone is very unlucky. The man sitting on the ground is wounded, and the last minutes of his life are already numbered. Park Kang-tae is his name, and he feels only pain, despair, and impotent rage. His killers are ruthless and are going to finish the job. Not even a drop of sympathy is visible in their faces. The only thing they can do for him is let him smoke his last cigarette. His former comrades have only one request to the hired killer: finish off our brother with one blow so that he does not suffer. The killer also asks for forgiveness from the victim, because they were connected by many years of work in a gangster group. Certainly. After all, these bastards only do what they are ordered to do, nothing personal. In the last minutes, Puck's whole life flashes before his eyes. Boxing was everything to him. He had all the makings of a boxer: height, punch, and star quality. In high school, he was touted as a promising boxing prospect. But the world of boxing is cruel, and it is difficult for a young man to control himself when provoked. After one of the incidents, he was told that he would never box again and was expelled from the team. Of course, there were other ways, and he could have returned to boxing, but he needed to earn a living, which has now come to an end. There's no point in regretting it now. But if I had at least one chance, I would like to take up boxing again. This is the last thought flashed through his head. Kalli, get up, are you dead? Unexpected screams and a gust of fresh wind forced him to open his eyes. Reality surprised him very much. He did not understand what was happening. Did I really die from a knife attack? How could I have changed so much, and why am I called Kalli now? What's happening? A few days later, the group of men reported that the losers of the match would go to the mine, and those who win will be left at the boxing school. If you don't want to go into the mine, train as if this is your last training in your life, the instructor told them. Listen carefully. I will name the pairs in which you will now unite. Torres and Maros, Undat and Bazan, Kizo and Damien. The coach named and named more and more new pairs. Kalli was paired with the big guy Sleet, who was a full head taller than him, and much broader in the shoulders. The pairs called up now will play a match that will take place in a week. Before that, they will have to train hard. Kalli understood perfectly well that selection was carried out on the principle of strong and weak. Mines are a dangerous place, where in the 21st century many people die from accidents and lung diseases. The environment there is terrible. Therefore, you need to do everything possible not to end up there. You need to win at any cost. At this time, the coach told Kalli to follow him for an important conversation. He said that the Kala would not be able to compete, and he suggested that the master transfer the Kala to another owner. Kalli calmly listens to her mentor. He understands that with such a body he will not survive in battle, because he's not a boxer. But at the same time, he will not survive in the mine for 1 year. Hence his decision to take part in the competition in a week. Instructor surprised by this decision, because before this Kalli could only cry. But Kalli is firmly confident that he will participate in the competition. On the way to the training camp, Kalli thinks that until recently he was a gangster named Park Kang-tae, who lived on Earth. And now he got a second chance as a boy named Kalli, and now he has the opportunity to take up boxing again. But this is a fragile body with weak bones and insufficient endurance, with weak blows. And why did he get a second chance with this body, weak and feeble? At this time, his ring partner Sleet approaches Kalli and says that he is starting training right now, and they deliver a powerful blow right to Kalli's jaw. Everyone doesn't like Kalli. The coach took him in as an exception because Kalli's father was a boxing champion. That's what everyone in the training camp says. But the rest think that this weak bastard should just die and not take someone else's place. To everyone's surprise, if before Kalli simply ran away, now he is holding on and ready to fight. He also threatens his huge opponent and promises that after the competition, he will be taken to the mine. An enraged Sleet attacks the skinny boy with the desire to finish him off with one blow. This is a huge fist, Kalli thinks, and with such a body it is absolutely impossible to withstand this blow. It seemed time slowed down and a huge fist, like an inexorable steam hammer, rushed towards Kalli, who could not move from horror. But at the last moment, the former boxer's instincts kicked in, and his fist flew a few millimeters from the boy's jaw. This surprised many students, because no one expected this from Kalli. "Oh, you little rat!" Sleet exclaimed and swung again. This time he put all his anger into the final blow. Instantly, Kalli calculated the trajectory along which the fist was flying, and with an elusive movement, deviated. Delivering a blow, the enemy opened up and Kalli's fist crashed into the unprotected solar plexus. Nobody expected this. The jaws of those watching dropped. But unfortunately, Sleet's next blow hit the target and Kalli sprawled on the ground. The young boxers left celebrating their victory, and they said that no one likes this little kid anyway. The beaten Kalli lay on the ground and thought about why he had not noticed before that weight and muscles are not the most important thing in boxing. And coordination and reflexes are also very important. Hand-eye coordination allows you to see every grain of sand that falls and follows its movement. And reflexes help you dodge all blows. I will do everything, the boy thought, that is in my power and even more. But I will not go into the mine. I must win. I must survive no matter the cost. 20 years ago, there was an uprising of armored gladiators that was so large that even regular government troops could not cope with it. A kingdom that barely put down a rebellion later abolished the system in which slaves fought gladiators with swords. From this time on, masters of fist-fighting began to appear who could destroy the enemy only with their fists. This gave the audience even more pleasure than bloody gladiatorial fights. Kalli learned all this during his time at the training camp. Every morning the fighters went out to train under the guidance of their coach. Overcoming the pain in his weak body, he tried to keep up with the others, despite the fact that the coach was ready to make concessions to him. But Kalli knew that in this place, if you don't have the strength, you won't survive. And he tried his best. The main mentor also noticed success in Kalli's training and could not understand what was happening until he heard a conversation between two students about how Kalli began to show abilities after he was severely beaten, after which he lay as if dead, and the boys got scared and ran away. The coach decided to watch Kalli. Daily individual training was very difficult and developed strength and endurance in the students. Kalli had to train on par with the strongest students and try not to be inferior to them in anything. But this training turned out to be ineffective for him, because with the body he had, it was impossible to inflict heavy damage on the enemy. He decided that the best thing for him would be to aim perfectly and strike the enemy in the jaw. Then he has a chance of victory. The mentor noticed that Kalli did not train like everyone else, and he was angry that the boy was ignoring the advice of experienced fighters who had been boxing even before he was born. All the fights here took place as heavyweight fights took place when Kalli was a boxer in a past life. But with his weak body, such tactics will not help him now. The trainer told Kalli that if his father taught him this technique, then he can use this experience. And they, together with other trainers, will watch how his training takes place. In the evening, Kalli sat exhausted under a tree and felt that all his muscles hurt, and he was so hungry that he was ready to eat an elephant. Fortunately, he noticed that he was sitting under an apple tree and now he could satisfy his hunger. Unnoticed by Kalli, a girl approached the tree who was strikingly different from those ragamuffins that Kalli saw in the camp. She was dressed like a noble lady. She told the boy to get down from the tree and bring some apples because she was also hungry. "You're just a slave in a training camp," she said. "Remember, this garden belongs to a noble family and you will be punished if caught here." "Do you know who I am?" asked the girl. "I am Azalea Aegist. My father, Baron Gadolf Aegist, is your master. Now say your name, slave." Kalli introduced himself to the girl, and she said that she would forget about this incident in the garden and would not demand that he be punished because he gave her an apple. Well, if he gets caught again, he won't be able to avoid punishment, so he better get out of here quickly. Kalli took the opportunity and ran away, and the girl thought that he was too weak for boxing. Kalli continues to train according to her system, and is already achieving some success. This starts to worry his opponent Sleet, because he remembers how Kalli fought him. Taking advantage of the fact that the trainers left the site, he wants to deal with Kalli and show everyone who is the strongest here. "I will strike him in the face with the first blow," Slit thought, "and then I will smear him on the ground." Anticipating quick reprisals, Sleet came too close to Kalli and suddenly received a strong blow to the jaw. Kalli was very surprised, and said that he was just training and didn't even notice how the thug approached him, so the blow was completely accidental. Sleet had no choice but to turn around and leave. Kalli knew very well such scoundrels as Sleet. When in a past life he was a gangster, they always pounced on the weak to show their strength, and they had to give a tough rebuff. However, other boxers noticing this incident realized that it was no coincidence that Slit received such a blow. And although Sleet pretended that nothing had happened, the other students noticed that Kalli had changed a lot and became much stronger and more determined. They saw this determination in the eyes of Kalli, who no longer cried but entered into battle. Even Torres, one of the strongest fighters, paid attention to Kalli's success. But all this only caused laughter from Slit, who was sure that after the fight with him, Kalli would end up in the mine. In the mansion, the Baron discussed preparations for the match with the coaches and was pleased with how everything was going. The coach described Torres as an aggressive and experienced fighter, with a good balance of strength and agility, who can lay claim to the champion title. "Unfortunately," the Baron said, "the popularity of our training center is falling and we even had to send some of the slaves to the mines due to financial problems. That's why I want," the Baron continued, "to invite commoners to the match and even pay them some money. They'll probably enjoy a good fight." The head coach did not object to his owner, but thought that first of all, the school was losing popularity due to the fact that its owner was too greedy. Baron Egist has been running the school for over 15 years. If in the first 5 years, he took care of experienced fighters and treated each person with care, then in the next 10 years, he forced them to train and fight too much and they all died out. He received a lot of money from his school, but did not invest in development and spent it on the whims of his family. But the coach was silent about this. Azalea suddenly expressed a desire to watch this match too, although she previously considered these fights barbaric. The coach and her father tried to dissuade her, because it would be too cruel a sight for such a young lady. But Azalea stood her ground, because deep down in her heart, she really wanted to see how this boy Kalli, whom she met in the garden, would fight. On the day of the fight, everything was ready. The ring, the stands were filled with people. Everyone was waiting for an interesting match. It's time for Kalli to enter the arena and show what he can do. The crowd cheered for the first winner, Torres, who quickly dispatched his opponent. And now the time has come for the battle between Slit and Kalli. It would seem that everyone could have predicted the outcome of this battle. Azalea couldn't understand how such a fragile boy could fight a huge muscular fighter. Anxiety crept into her heart. The coach had the same opinion, who believed that to win you need excellent physical shape, because only it gives the necessary strength to strike. The fighters entered the ring, and Slit immediately advised Kalli to quickly give up. Otherwise, if he entered into a fight with him, Kalli would never have any health. If your abilities were as good as your mouth, you would have already become a champion. Kalli answered him and prepared for battle. But still, Kalli understood that the difference in physical form was too serious, and his opponent had practically no vulnerabilities. In order to deliver a decisive blow to Kalli's jaw, 2 things had to be done. The first was to force the enemy to bend. But Kalli didn't have time to finish his thought when the enemy attacked, and the only thing Kalli could do was dodge the blows and run away. The people in the stands were very dissatisfied with the fact that they did not see the real battle, and the chase for the cowardly cat was unfolding before their eyes. But then the unexpected happened. In pursuit of Kalli, Sleet was more tired than if he had simply attacked him in battle. However, he remained still a powerful and strong opponent, and a terrible blow that overtook Kalli and broke several of his ribs knocked him to the ground. The audience at the stadium exploded in delight, expecting imminent reprisals against a weak opponent. The judge started counting 10, 9, 8. It seemed it was all over, and Kalli's fate was sealed. But despite the broken ribs and the coach's offer to end the fight, the former gangster Pak in the body of a frail boy was not going to die a second time. His ribs were broken and he could not move quickly or strike hard. However, he managed to dodge a heavy fist that was flying straight into his face, and instantly strike the enemy's unprotected jaw. All this happened in a matter of seconds, and no one even noticed how he did it. Sleet fell to the ground as if knocked down, and the referee began his countdown 10, 9, 8. Kalli is declared the winner. The judge shouted and raised his flag. How could this happen? What's happened? We didn't understand anything. The spectators in the stands sat in bewilderment, and the winner at this time promised himself that he would not ruin his second life, as he ruined the first. A week later, the slave traders arrived, and half the school's students were sent to the mines. Now there were only no more than 10 people left on the training ground, and the training center was quiet. Kalli was brought to a guest's mansion in shackles, as was the way to lead slaves. For the first time he came to this house and looked at everything around with interest. Kalli was brought at the request of Azalea, who was waiting for him in her room with a cup of tea. When the girl was alone with Kalli, she offered him some fruit, and then started talking about what she wanted from him. She started the conversation from afar, and Kalli could not understand where she was leading. She said that she was impressed by the fight and how she won it with one blow. Everyone around, including her and her father, thought that this was an accident or a coincidence, but Kalli knew that it was not so. He explained that he thought with his head before throwing a punch, and he knew that if he punched his opponent accurately on the chin, his head would fall back, and then he would temporarily lose control of his body. He purposefully aimed and attacked, and Azalea really liked it. She advised him to keep winning, because when he becomes a champion, he can be a free man. This was the end of their meeting, but thoughts of freedom no longer gave rest to the young man. But not only Kalli dreamed of freedom, but also Torres, one of the strongest fighters in the school, strong and dexterous, who trained all day long. He recalled how a trainer found him as a teenager, paid attention to his excellent fighting qualities, and promised him the title of champion and freedom if he won the battles. But now he was more and more worried about Kalli, who had changed a lot, and was able to defeat such a terrible opponent as Slit. The remaining students never liked Kalli, and they decided to teach him a lesson and beat him badly. Kidjo, nicknamed Mantis, especially wanted this. Torres didn't know whether to agree to this proposal. He didn't want to interfere with Kalli's training, and saw that he had already achieved great success after his ribs healed. One day, when Kalli was training in the arena, a Mantis and his comrades approached him and started a mocking conversation about his victory. He promised Kalli that he wouldn't hit him too hard, and would fight him with half his strength. In turn, Kalli warned the Mantis that he could cause him great pain and beat him harder than he expected. The Mantis attacked Kalli, hoping for an easy victory, but that was not the case. Kalli easily dodged all the blows, and choosing the right moment delivered a strong blow to the enemy's jaw. So he proved to everyone that his victory in the match was not an accident. Tall height and long arms are a great advantage in battle. It is impossible to get close to such a fighter, and his blows become very dangerous. But the Mantis did not know how to use its advantages, so the short Kalli was able to dive under his arms and deliver a strong blow to the jaw. He did not give the Mantis any respite, and struck from the right and left. After the fall of the Mantis, the rest of the students rushed at Kalli to teach him a good lesson. The Mantis stood up and considered that the blow was struck by accident and was going to take revenge. Kalli concentrated on the Mantis and missed a strong blow to the back. Opponents needed to win to boost their self-esteem, but Torres intervened and stopped the fight turning into beating. He could not see an unfair fight when 3 attacked 1, and demanded that Mantis fight with Kalli one-on-one. Then it will be a fair fight, and Torres will act as a judge and make sure that the fight is fair. Despite the fact that Kalli could barely stand on his feet, he stood up and was ready to continue the fight. Kalli could calculate all the movements of the Mantis and deftly dodged its blows, and attacked the enemy in the body with multiple precise blows. With inaccurate and slow movements, the Mantis only showed its weakness and could not resist a fast opponent. Finally, he delivered a decisive blow to the jaw when the enemy made another mistake. Kalli finally ended the fight with a complete knockout. The defeated Mantis lay on the ground. Torrance noted that Kalli now looks like a very experienced boxer, and this talent was probably passed on to him from his father. But he still didn't want to have anything to do with Kalli, so when he came up to him to thank him for his intercession, Torrance didn't talk to him. After this fight, none of the school students challenged Kalli to a duel. Hall for receiving guests in the mansion of Baron Egest. The coach is very angry and demands that the Baron refuse the match because the school does not have enough professional boxers and there are only weak students. But the Baron declares that there will be no very strong boxers at the match, so the coach has 2 options. Either win the match with the help of his students or send a scapegoat to the fight. That's an order. Choose the 3 best fighters and come. I want to see how Baron Dorman will be annoyed that we fielded the best fighters. The coach is angry at his master because he is destroying his school. If such a powerful player as Torres does not win the match, then the school can be closed. But he won't be able to win because he's not yet ready to fight experienced boxers. In 3 days, you need to have time to prepare the fighters for battle, and this is almost impossible. The coach didn't know what to do, but an order is an order, and the coach chooses Torres, Mantis, and Kalli in 3 days to prepare them for the match against the Dorman training camp. Torres is not sure that their team can win, and he directly tells the coach about this. The coach is sure that the team with this lineup will never be able to win, but he has no choice but to start training. He has no other fighters. The coach puts Torres in sparring with all the school teachers and orders him to train all 3 days with full dedication. Mantis needs to deal with his fear if he wants to hold his own in the match, and Kalli's trainer can't offer anything because he doesn't know how to train him and chose him only for his last fight. So Kalli must decide for himself how to train. The coach tells Torres that despite the fact that his opponents are experienced fighters, they are the same people and also fall from blows. You need to feel like a winner, even when your legs give way from fatigue. The main task of a fighter is to convince the enemy that he is fighting an immortal monster. Leaving for a break, Torres notices Kalli, who is training alone on the field. Kalli reasons that in 3 days you still won't build up muscles, so it's better to train your reflexes. So he asked his partner to just throw stones at him. Dodging stones, Kalli trains her muscles, legs, and reflexes, and this is a completely new training method that no one knew about yet. In the evening, fighters from Dorman's school arrived. Strong, healthy, adult-trained fighters. They immediately began to show their strength and beat up the school students. It didn't get to the point of serious injuries. It was limited to only bruises and contusions, but the students of the Egest school were very scared, and they stopped believing that they could win. The coach had to restore order with a strong hand because such panicky moods could affect morale. The coach understood that if his team lost, the school would be closed and this would be a disaster for both him and his players. Kalli looked at all this and thought that the upcoming battle would be interesting to the townspeople. But Baron Egest is most interested in victory, because defeat will hurt his honor. This is a battle between 2 training schools. each of which was famous for its great victories and great champions. Now one of them will have to disappear if it loses this battle. After 3 days, a ring was set up in the arena. Judges were seated, stands were built, which were filled with a huge crowd of people. Everyone was interested in the upcoming match, and everyone was waiting for exciting fights. The coach gave the last instructions to his fighters and advised that if they feel that they are losing, they should raise 2 fingers up. It's better to be defeated than to become disabled. Mantis was the first to participate in the battle. He was very scared and not sure that he could win. Kalli shouted after him not to get close to his opponent. "You're an idiot," exclaimed the Mantis. "In boxing, you need to be close to each other in order to strike." This advice angered him even more. Baron Doraemon's school presented a 14-time champion, a strong and mature fighter with huge muscles. The Mantis decided that his last hour had come, and he would never be able to defeat such a formidable opponent. "Your fighter is too young." His competitor Doraemon addressed Baron Agest. Damn, coach thought Agest couldn't field a more powerful fighter, and said out loud that the fight hadn't started yet. And then the gong sounded, and the enemy immediately attacked the frightened Mantis. The attack was fast and powerful. The Mantis had difficulty dodging the hail of blows that rained down on him, and it seemed to him that a cannonball flew past him. The stands were dissatisfied with the fact that they did not see the real battle, and demanded that the praying Mantis not shy away but join the battle. Mantis was distracted by shouts from the stands and missed a powerful blow to the body. This blow knocked all the air out of his lungs, and he fell almost unconscious. The enemy has already celebrated victory. The referee started counting down. 10, 9, 8, and the Mantis could not get up and fight. His consciousness became foggy. If he lost the fight and didn't land even one blow on his opponent and left the training school ignominiously, this caused Kicho to rise to his feet, much to the surprise of his opponent. And then Mantis remembered how the coach explained to him why he lost when he fought with Kalli. The coach told him that although Mantis has such advantages as tall height and long arms, he does not know how to use it, and Kalli perfectly understood his weaknesses, and therefore won. Always be calm. Don't be afraid. Don't let your opponent get close. Intercept the attacking opponent and strike using your long arms. Then you will succeed. The praying Mantis did so, and delivered a strong blow straight to the fighter's jaw. Strong joy and a feeling of victory gripped the Mantis. He felt jubilant and delighted that he was able to overcome himself and take advantage of his advantages. The stands were delighted or applauded the unexpected wonderful blow and the fighter's ability to fight. Everyone noted that Kicho's fighting style is very similar to the stance of a praying Mantis when it enters a fight. Kicho's opponent was thinking that it would be very difficult to strike and get close to the Mantis. Swinging, he was about to deliver the final decisive blow because he no longer had the strength to fight for a long time. But Kicho was able to dodge. Seeing that the enemy had opened up during the attack, Mantis was able to take advantage of this and strike again. The referee declared the Mantis the winner, because the second fighter was deeply knocked out and could not get up. Baron Agest's joy was stormy and genuine. He did not expect that his fighters would show such skill. The next battles must also be won. If you lose, then everyone will go to the mines and die there. The Baron betrayed the trainer and fighters. Torres was the second to enter the battle, and his opponent Molga was several levels higher and stronger. The battle began and Torres quickly attacked the enemy. Molga defeated strong fighters 18 times and gave no mercy to anyone. But Torrance did not pay attention to the fact that the enemy was more experienced, stronger and more bloodthirsty than him, but simply fought him with all his might. Thanks to his fierce attack, he was able to overcome his opponent's defense and deal him a powerful blow. The spectators in the stands roared with delight. They had not seen such a magnificent fight for a long time, and encouraged both boxers with joyful shouts. To his deep regret, Molga could do nothing to counter the frantic attack of young Torres, and one of the blows knocked him down. He could no longer rise. The referee finished his count and Torres was declared the winner. Now everything depended on whether Kalli could collect all her skills and win. Determined to snatch victory at all costs, Kalli entered the ring. His opponent was 11-time heavyweight champion Burrito. There was laughter among the spectators in the stands and in the box when Kalli entered the ring. Many spectators had children who were bigger than this fighter. I was looking forward to the fight, and the Baron's daughter Azalea had already admitted even to herself that she came only because she wanted to watch the fight in which Kalli would participate. Baron Doraemon was sure that a fighter from his school would win this fight, and his mood improved greatly. Burrito was very fast and dangerous, as Kalli immediately realized. He could easily block all his blows, and if he hit Kalli, he would immediately knock him out. So Kalli had no choice but to dodge the blows and try to find a weak point in her opponent. Kalli moved so quickly around the ring that Barito could not land the finishing blow. Baron Dorman angrily pounded his fist on the armrest of his chair. He was sure that his fighter would win instantly. But the fight dragged on due to Kalli's skill. Elysia saw that Kalli was much different from any other fighter and mentally asked him to show it to everyone. During the fight, Kalli analyzed the enemy's movement and saw that he was always hitting with his right hand and did not use his left at all. He knew that he needed to analyze the system of blows that the enemy delivered and watch how he moved. See the movement of his head, arms, body. See how he prepares an attack and find his weak point at this time. And although Kalli was not sure whether he, inhabited in this fragile body, would be able to deliver a very strong blow, but his experience, his feelings and his vision of the battle gave him confidence in victory. It was in this way that Kalli, having felt the enemy's weak point, slipped under his raised hand and hit him in the head. I won't let my opponent come to his senses right away. He struck a second blow even stronger than the first. Everyone who saw this fight was amazed that a fragile young man, practically a child, was able to fight with an experienced fighter. Barito could not understand how this boy could knock him down and inflict such heavy blows on him. At the same time, Kalli mentally begged Barito to give up because his right hand was already very badly injured from such strong blows and was not working well. Barito realized that he could not defeat Kalli in a fair fight. He took a handful of sand from the ring and threw it right into Kalli's eyes in the hope of blinding him and then destroying him. Azalea screamed when she saw such a scam, and Baron Dorman was very pleased with the ingenuity of his fighter. Kalli was practically blind, and this helped the Barito deliver a strong blow. But Kalli rose with the last of his strength and was again ready to continue the fight. Now you're finished. The angry boxer roared and attacked the young man with the goal of ending him forever. I need to stay calm. Kalli mentally told myself I can't panic or I'll die. I have already completely finished the analysis of the fight. He always starts with the right hand, and Kalli interrupted the attack of the Barite rushing at him with a powerful blow, which he delivered by ducking under his right hand. The Barito couldn't get up anymore and fell unconscious on the field of the ring. Kalli became the winner to the jubilant screams of the crowd who did not expect such an outcome, and that the match would be so interesting. Azalea was amazed, and did not regret at all that she came to watch this match, and her interest increased. The coach couldn't believe that their school was the winner. Baron Gadolf celebrated with a celebration at the school, and fed the students delicious food. 2 months later, autumn has arrived and harvest season has arrived. School students collected potatoes and other vegetables from the field in order to take them to school. Many people didn't like it, but Kalli suggested that moving potato boxes should be considered strength training. Kalli's body has undergone many changes. She has become much larger and stronger. The peasants asked if there would be boxers at the Duke of Wesley's harvest festivals, but the disciples were not allowed to be at this festival. The main feature of this festival was boxing. Baron Aegist was a relative of the Duke who organized this festival. The school of Doraemon and Egesta competed under the sponsorship of the Duke, but students could not participate in battles. We'll have to wait a whole year to participate in the battles at the festival, thought Kalli. But the year flew by very quickly. In the reception room of Baron Egest, the coach asked his master to give him 1 more year to train his students. The Baron refused him this because the Duke personally asked in a letter that 3 famous students of the school should participate in the ducal festival. The Duke of Wesley is one of the 5 dukes of the kingdom, and it is impossible to refuse his request. All invitees must arrive at the Duke's palace the day after tomorrow, and from that moment on, the 3 students are considered professional boxers. Now all 3 fighters have a mark saying that they belong to the school of Baron Egest. On the way to the Duke's palace, Azalea spoke to Kalli and advised him to show everything he could do at the festival. Kalli kept remembering this conversation on the way, and the girl's beautiful face stood before his eyes. Night fell, and the travelers decided to make a halt to rest and then move on. Azalea was tired, and decided that it was time for her to sleep, and her father went out to talk to the guards. Despite the fact that the guards told the Baron that at this time there were many robbers prowling the roads and that he needed to move quickly, the Baron insisted on a halt. In the bushes, the boxers heard some rustling, and Kalli told the Baron that they needed to leave here. The Baron angrily advised him to mind his own business, and at the same time a sharp spear pierced the head of the knight who was guarding them. The Baron's detachment was attacked by unknown people and had to fight. The hail of arrows gradually decreased, and a gang jumped out of the bushes. There were a lot of robbers, and their intentions were very serious. Kalli asked the trainer to remove the shackles from them, because there were too many bandits and too few guards, and the boxers could help in the battle. The coach saw how serious the situation was, and immediately released the boxers and told them that protecting the Baron and his daughter was their first priority. One of the bandits screamed, "I found them," and attacked the boxers. A huge sword flashed in the moonlight. But Kalli managed to dodge the sword and its blow. The robber flew to the side and the boxers ran. Kalli ran with all his might to protect Azalea. The guards guarded the Baron and took him to a safe place. The Baron shouted to Kalli that his daughter was in the carriage and Kalli rushed there. But he was overtaken by another robber, who also rushed to the carriage wanting to find money and jewelry there. It was not possible to stop the bandit. It was a strong and dexterous scoundrel who was able to throw Kalli a few steps back. And then the bandit opens the door of the carriage and sees Azalea, frightened and trembling. Grabbing the girl, the bandit easily, as if not feeling the weight of the captive, ran with her in an unknown direction. Baron East screamed in despair, and Kalli ran after the kidnapper and promised the father that he would return his daughter. The chase stopped on a cliff, at the bottom of which ran a stormy river. There was nowhere to run further. Then the bandit put his captive on the ground, pulled out his sword, and told Kalli that he looked like a slave and would he like to join the bandits. In a previous life, Kalli had already gone down this path, and he indignantly rejected any attempt to become a gangster again. "Then you're done," exclaimed his opponent and waved his sword. Based on the bandit's movements and the way he wielded his sword, Kalli realized that this was a former gladiator. "I'm a gladiator and I have 42 victories," the bandit exclaimed and attacked the young man. With such an experienced and armed opponent, Kalli was doomed to defeat, so he simply dodged the ball, slipped under the bandit's arm, grabbed Azalea in his arms and ran as fast as he could. He had no choice but to jump into the stormy river and swim with his burden. The fugitives went ashore and found a small grotto in which they could hide from pursuit. Kalli disguised the exit. Azalea was so cold and wet that she begged her companion to light a fire. But this was impossible to do, because all the branches were wet and in addition, the robbers could find them by fire. Azalea was still shivering from the cold in her wet clothes, and the only way Kalli saw to warm up was to take off these clothes and dry them. In wet clothes, you could catch a bad cold and even die. The proposal to take off her clothes made Azalea so angry that she even for a minute forgot how cold she was. How can she, an aristocrat, undress in front of her slave? But Kalli explained to her that this was a necessary precaution. He would turn away and not look at her. And if she gets sick and dies, then her father will kill him. Azalea followed Kalli's advice. She took off her clothes and laid them out on the stones to dry, but she did not feel any warmer. Strong trembling shook the girl. Kalli was also shivering from the cold and understood that they wouldn't last that long. There were only two options. Either start moving actively or hug and warm each other with their bodies. The young man and the girl did not have the strength to move, so they hugged each other and sat there all night, warming each other. Morning came, and Kalli and her companion went to the camp. Their clothes were dry and they were no longer afraid of the cold. They had to go upstream, but Azalea was very afraid that they would meet bandits. To which Kalli said that you need to rely on luck and move forward. Azalea walked along the road and thought that Kalli was a mystery to her. He does not behave the way slaves usually behave, and at the same time he is completely different from all the men she has known. On the one hand, he is still a boy, and on the other, an adult man. But with him I feel simple and comfortable, and I enjoy being around him, thought Azalea. The bandit was waiting for the fugitives in ambush, and thought that he would kill this little scoundrel as soon as he saw him. To his great joy, two familiar figures appeared right in front of him. "How happy I am to see you again," the bandit said joyfully. Kalli prepared to defend himself and Azalea with all his might, but he was completely unarmed, and this made the bandit laugh. "I will kill you and take this prize," he told Kalli, but Kalli was very determined, and was going to defend his companion and himself. "Boy," the bandit laughed, "I'll cut you in half now." And he was about to fulfill his threat. Kalli moved very quickly and tried to avoid the deadly blows of the sword, but it was impossible to do this indefinitely. The bandit's sword had high killing power and long range, and was wielded by a very experienced and cruel gladiator. But Kalli had experience of fighting a fast opponent who had very long arms. He remembered the fight with the mantis which ended in Kalli's complete victory. If you want to defeat an armed enemy with your bare hands, you have no other way. As soon as Forward and Kalli rushed to the attack. "What a luck!" exclaimed the bandit. "The boy wants to run into the blade himself." The main thing Kalli needed was the determination not to be afraid of the blade, and the ability to get around it. It was necessary to concentrate all the forces and rush past the terrible blade into the enemy's blind zone to where the sword could not reach. And that's exactly what Kalli did. And his fist attacked the bandit's jaw with crushing force. From the blow he received, the bandit lost his balance and flew far to the side, dropping his sword. Kalli sank to the ground exhausted. This fight took all his strength, and Azalea froze in horror because she couldn't believe that the battle was over. After some time, they were found by a rescue team, which the girl's father sent to search for them. "Thank you for saving my daughter," said the Baron, and no one expected these words from him. For such an arrogant and proud aristocrat to thank a slave and offer him rest, this has never happened. The Baron asked how an unarmed Kalli could defeat the gladiator, and if he had any secret that helps win battles. "I look weak," answered Kalli, "and all my opponents underestimate me." And finally, in the evening when the sun was setting, the whole company arrived at the castle of Duke Wesley. The Duke of Wesley joyfully greeted the newly arrived Baron and his daughter. He noted that their journey lasted too long, and the Baron and his family were already waiting for their dear guests. "Dear Azalea," the Duke continued, "you have grown up so much and become like your mother, and she was a real lady." Among Azalea's servants was Kalli. Azalea herself told him to join the servants because one of them was sick, and only Kalli could replace him. During a luxurious dinner, the Duke discussed previous matches with the Baron, and wondered how 3 students could defeat such strong opponents. Azalea got bored with these men's conversations, and she asked permission to leave the men and walk in the fresh air. Kalli had to accompany her as her servant. He had to obey. They walked through the streets of the city, examining the streets of houses and looking at people. Azalea looked very unhappy, and admitted to Kalli that her father had been looking for a husband for her for a long time, and she absolutely did not want to get married so young and tie herself hand and foot. Azalea asked Kalli what he thought about this, to which Kalli replied that no one was interested in his opinion. Azalea bought 2 candies and gave them to Kalli because she thought that he had never tried candy in his life. Yes, from the moment Kalli found himself in this world, he did not eat anything sweet except fruit. Azalea was beautiful, and Kalli, like all the men around, admired her beauty. But then an old woman approached them and invited Azalea to tell her fortune for good luck. Kalli was strongly against it and wanted to drive the fortune teller away, but Azalea thought it was funny and happily agreed. They followed the fortune teller to her gypsy tent. On the way, the fortune teller promised that she would tell fortunes for little money. The gypsy opened her crystal ball, looked into it, and said that there will be many turns and surprises in life, but it's much more fun than the life of an ordinary person. The girl asked her to tell fortunes for love and marriage, and the gypsy said that her beloved could be next to her, but she would not receive a marriage that everyone would bless. As an additional service, the gypsy offered to tell fortunes to Kalli, and although he refused, Azalea insisted on telling fortunes. Then the gypsy looked into her crystal ball again and said to Kalli, "You came from afar. You came from a place that people here don't even know exists." "From what place?" asked Kalli. "I don't know, I'm just saying what I see," answered the gypsy. "In this world, iron birds fly through the air. In this world, you ride a carriage without horses. In this world, people are inside transparent boxes." Kalli was amazed how the gypsy could know and see all this, because she described his past world. The gypsy adds that Kalli has extraordinary energy, and an angel is guiding his path, and he is destined to become a great fighter. The old woman cannot believe that Kalli is just a slave, because a person with such energy would never become a slave. Over the next 3 days, Kalli persuaded Azalea to let him go to training, and she let him go. One day, after he left the palace, the guards refused to let him back in and ridiculed him for his thinness and apparent weakness. Kalli did not remain silent in response, and things got to the point where the guards were ready to rush into a fight. But a sudden order forced them to retreat. Their master, Duke Wesley, strictly ordered the guards to move away from the young man, and he began a friendly conversation with Kalli. He said that he couldn't believe that such a fragile young man was the winner of last year's match. "This boy's muscles are weak, but he has proven that he is a strong fighter." "What is he hiding?" thought the Duke, and he said out loud that he was very glad to meet such a famous fighter, and would be happy to see him at the match. At the training camp, Kalli immediately began his usual training. Their coach gathered his team and said that not only Baron Doraemon's fighters are training here in this camp, but also many other fighters. Therefore, his students can stay in the camp and not sign up for the competition because one round is already filled with those interested. Torres really wants to get into the ring, and therefore he believes that he can ignore the coach's remark. But the coach immediately punishes him and explains to him what he is doing wrong. This festival will feature fighters who have been winners dozens of times. Therefore, his students must silently listen to their coach and be guided only by his decisions. At this time, shouts are heard in the training camp. "Ogre, ogre!" People start running away in horror. A monster has appeared on the street. Baron Doraemon has revealed his secret weapon. The coach says in horror and amazement, "I can't believe he brought this monster. Is it really this person?" Everyone who saw the monster asked with horror. "He really looks like an ogre from fantasy," thought Kalli, watching the ogre with a frozen gaze. The ogre Doraemon is the strongest fighter who won 76 fights in a year. He did not leave his opponent a single chance. The boxers are actively discussing the ogre, and Mantis says that they want rumors that he can break a person's ribs with a scream. Mantis declares that he will never fight the ogre and will refuse the fight. To this, the coach tells him that the Baron considered his fighters too weak, and therefore they are unlikely to participate in this fight. Kalli is thinking about how he could defeat the ogre, but in order for his fist to touch the monster's jaw, he must be forced to bend down, but this is impossible. If you hit other parts, it will not cause much damage. The ogre seems invincible. Mantis is even surprised that Kalli is thinking about how to defeat such a monster, and comes to the conclusion that he is also not an ordinary person. The stadium has a schedule of competitions and the lineup of participants. All the owners came to check the lists. The Baron understands that his fighters will have difficult fights with representatives of the Doorman school. Baron Doorman laughs. He is sure that no one will ever be able to oppose his ogre, and tries to provoke Baron Egest to field his fighters. Baron Egest understands that no one has a chance to fight such a monster, and is not going to succumb to provocations. According to rumors, Baron Doorman will compete with the ogre 3 fighters who lost in the last match to the school of Baron Egest. This is of course a death sentence for all 3. According to the schedule, Torres will fight on the first day, Kalli and Kicho on the second day. The ogre will also fight on the first day, but with other fighters. The first day of the match, the main stadium of the city. All the stands are packed with spectators. In the ring there is an ogre and a very frightened fighter. The fighter understands that the ogre is tens of times stronger than him, and it is impossible to win this fight. One can only hope that he will miraculously survive. The monster drives the man into a corner and looms over him like a huge granite rock. His eyes burn with red fire, and his whole appearance suggests that he is ruthless. The terrible blow of the fist is like a hammer blow. It is impossible to evade it. This fighter is fast as lightning. The spectators in the stands explode with shouts, "Kill him, finish him!" The people are waiting for the bloody end of the battle. "I give up! I give up!" The fighter shouts. "You are a winner, I admit it." But no one is interested in his screams anymore. The audience wants something different. The ogre answers, and they both know perfectly well what the spectators in the stands want. Amid the frenzied screams of the stadium, the ogre fighter is about to deliver the decisive blow. It's all over. The blow is struck and blood sprays in all directions. The jubilant howl of the stands drowned out the last cry of the victim. In this and in my past life, I have seen many deaths, but none were as terrible as this one, Kalli thinks. But fortunately, he notices that the ogre has no professional skills, but only brute strength and animal rage. Mantis discusses with his friends the possibility of defeating the ogre, but they see no possibility. And Torres notices that the ogre has no desire to defeat the enemy, but has a great desire to kill him. The Wild Boars of Egest's team started the competition in the first round. Torres competed. Torres never gives up and knocked out his opponent. This duel was one of the best fights of the day. Kalli has to fight tomorrow, and he is thinking about his fighting technique. "Kalli, do you like boys?" The unexpected question makes Kalli open her eyes in amazement. It was Azalea who quietly approached him. "Why did you decide that, lady?" Kalli asks. "Because all the boys get excited when they see me, and you are always too calm. I came to see you today because tomorrow maybe I won't see you anymore. After all, so many soldiers die here." She continued. "My life doesn't matter," Kalli answers. "After all, I'm not a noble sir. I'll bet on you to win," Azalea says and gives Kalli an apple. "You don't have to worry, miss. I will definitely win," speaks. The next day, all the stands were filled with spectators, and Kalli is preparing for her first fight at this festival. He became much stronger and matured, his muscles became much larger, and his biceps grew stronger. A veteran with 21 victories from the Wedeman training camp came up against Kalli, Ironwall Caesar. Caesar's opponent looks like dwarf. This newcomer has already won one fight against an experienced fighter. Kalli is the next fighter from the Egest training camp. The audience laughs at Kalli's appearance and asks if he ate well, and why is he so thin, and only Azalea is sure that Kalli will win. This fighter is Caesar. He will receive recognition today. In the future, he will be a great champion. With these words, an unfamiliar young man approached Azalea. "And I think that the boy from our school will win." Azalea answered. "In boxing, the most important thing is physical data," answered the young man. "I know this well. I even fought myself." Azalea listened with boredom as he boasted to her. "Let's make a bet," she suggested. "I'm betting on my fighter." "Fine," her interlocutor agreed. "If he loses, you will go on a date with me. And if he wins, you will buy me the ruby necklace that I saw in the store," Elise answered. In the ring, the fighters were preparing for the start of the fight. Caesar said that he does not feel any personal hatred towards Kalli. He will easily defeat him and let Kalli blame his trainer for putting him in this fight. Kalli replied that there is no need to wag his tongue, and the fight will show who will defeat whom, and stood up. Caesar attacked his opponent with the desire to knock him out with the first blow, but Kalli deftly dodged his blows. Analyzing the techniques of combat, he has iron muscles and very thick skin, and if you hit him in the jaw, he may not even feel. Caesar tried to engage in close combat, but Kalli easily dodged and parried his blows. Caesar felt that he was already starting to get tired, and hoped that the enemy was just as tired, and would soon not be able to escape his blows so quickly. The unfamiliar young man was already completely confident in his victory, but the experienced spectator does not think so. Kalli is simultaneously on the right and left and above and below and instantly reacts to danger and attacks in response. Is this really the fighter who knocked down the strongest player, Baron Dorman? They say that he defeated him with his eyes closed. Is it true? Azalea sat with a calm face. It seemed that she was even bored, but in her heart she sang with joy. At this time in the ring, Caesar hoped to knock out his opponent with one blow, and Kalli wanted to wear down the enemy and deal him a decisive blow at the right time. Finally, Caesar lost the last of his stamina, and Kalli realized that he should not miss this chance. Having broken through the enemy's defense, he struck him in the body, from which Caesar's ribs broke. The trainer, watching the battle, noticed that the blow that Kalli delivered was excellent, because he used the muscle power that he had built up with his training. This is no longer the attack of a weak fighter who used the weight and strength of the enemy. Now Kalli strikes with her pure strength. Kalli's blows were accurate and strong, and Caesar could not oppose anything to them. Caesar's thick muscular armor was destroyed under Kalli's blows. Strong blows hit his body, back, head. It was like hitting a lot of arrows that hit the target. And with the last powerful blow, Kalli sent his opponent into a deep knockout. Caesar was lying on the ground. The referee was counting, but Caesar could no longer get up. Incredibly, he won this fight, and the stadium welcomed the champion. "I'm waiting for the necklace you lost to me," Azalea said cheerfully. "This is my boxer. I took care of him. I raised him." Baron Aegis rejoiced. Kalli turned to the box in which the Baron and his daughter were sitting and made a gesture that meant gratitude. The Baron decided that he dedicated this to him as his master, but Azalea knew who this gratitude was intended for. The commoners and all the nobility were very impressed by the fight that they all saw and asked the coach about the new talented boxer. Despite this, the coach told Kalli that this was just the beginning of his journey, and he still had hard work to do. Kalli's whole body hurt, but it didn't mean anything compared to the surprise his friends felt after they saw the new fighting technique. Soon it was Mantis's turn to fight, and although he really wanted to win, and the screams of the spectators who greeted the winner were in his ears, he was very worried that he would not be able to fight well. Kalli advised him to take advantage of his long arms and height and play the match the way he was used to, and thanks to this advice, Mantis won and his joy knew no bounds. Azalea called Kalli to her place to discuss the duel, and told him what kind of bet she made. At this time, a baron came running looking for his daughter. Some important person really wanted to meet her. It was the second son of the noble Joseph family, who became interested in the red-haired girl, and quickly found out who she was. Azalea thought with sadness that the young man knew that she was from the family of a baron, who was much lower and poorer than his father, and she was helpless in front of his desires. The Villena family is a prestigious family, with significant influence in the country's politics. Therefore, the baron joyfully introduced his daughter to the son of such a rich and influential nobleman. Villain took out a ruby necklace and gave it to Azalea, saying that it would go well with her red hair. Azalea felt very ashamed, but out loud she said that she was very grateful, and Joseph replied that despite the fact that he lost the bet, he hoped that she would go for a walk with him. In her heart she wanted to run away, but her father said that she would be happy to go for a walk, just to change clothes. When Azalea came to her room, she flatly refused to go on a date with the Duke's son, but her father asked her not to do so. He asked her to take a closer look at the young man and find the good sides in him, because he really hopes that Azalea will make a good match. Azalea promised that she would go on a date once. Kalli, who served as Azalea's bodyguard, thought about what a pitiful person the Baron was. He runs a boxing school and has no idea about boxing and is already on the verge of ruin. At this time, Villain came up to him and began to shout because of Kalli's victory. He had to spend a lot of money, and soon it will be nice to see Kalli fall into the arena, beaten and defeated. The date between Azalea and Villain took place on the shore of a picturesque lake, accompanied by many servants. Kalli thought it was not good that a girl was dating such a two-faced scoundrel. The weather was good. The sun was hot and Kalli was remembering his past life. He recalled the fights in the ring he participated in when he was a professional boxer. He was ruthless and self-confident. No one could get up after his blows. Cruel morals reigned among the boxers and great competition. Cruelty flourished, and in one of the fights, the opponent broke his arm using dirty methods, after which Park Kang-tae, that was Kalli's name at that time, became a bandit and used violence, as if he was taking revenge for his broken fist. If I could go back, he thought, I never would. And then his sleep was interrupted and he woke up in horror. He thought that if he had a second chance and managed to get his old life back, he wouldn't live like that. At this time, a maid jumped out into the clearing and called Kalli that his help was urgently needed. Velan lost control of himself from drinking wine and now demanded a reward from Azalea for spending money on her ruby necklace. It was impossible to imagine that a noble gentleman would insult a lady like that, and Azalea resisted with all her might. In response, Velan hit Azalea and she fell to the ground. He completely lost his mind. Kalli rushed to the girl's defense, not believing his eyes. No nobleman had ever raised his hand against a woman in public, but Kalli's path was blocked by Velan's servants, who said that they would not allow the slave offspring to see their master. If you try to stop me, I don't guarantee that your arms and legs will be intact. Are you ready for that? Kalli said. One of the servants said that he fights no worse than a stupid boxer and immediately received a blow to the eye. He cowardly ran away, shouting to his comrade that he was coming for help and they should detain Kalli. The servants did not at all want to sacrifice their health and their whole arms and legs. And at this time, Velan attacked the defenseless girl and demanded to pay him for the necklace. A sharp blow that Kalli gave him with his foot threw the scoundrel far to the side. "Scoundrel, how dare you touch me?" the nobleman shouted with surprise and indignation. "Do you have any idea what you are doing now?" Kalli asked him angrily. "Of course I can. I demand compensation for the ruby necklace. It cost me too much. If you don't get out of here now, you'll have big problems, you dirty slave." But Kalli no longer heard the threats and attacked the scoundrel. He dipped his head into the water several times, and each time he pulled him out of the water, he asked, "Well, are you sober now? Do you really think that you can live the way you want, and everyone should obey your wishes?" And again Kalli dipped Velan into the water. "Forgive me, I was wrong," Velan muttered, and Kalli said, "I hope this was a good lesson for you, young master." "Can you imagine what you've done?" Azalea shouted. "You need to run away from here urgently. You will be punished." At this time guards appeared, brought by servant Velena. "Kill this scoundrel right now," shouted the beaten son. The rumor that the Duke's second son was beaten by a slave quickly spread among the nobles who came to the harvest festival. To make sure that our family does not become a laughing stock, this slave must be executed immediately. Velan thought so, and I will make sure that the family of Baron Egest will never again be strong and influential and will disappear. Baron Egest was furious. He could not even imagine that Velan would attack his daughter. The coach told him that Kalli was being held in prison, and the Baron told him that Kalli should be thought of as dead. "I am very grateful to him for protecting my daughter, but if we stand up for him, our whole family will end." At this time, Azalea entered the room and heard her father's words with horror. "You must save Kalli," she said to the Baron. "He saved me twice, and it doesn't matter that he is a slave. He is more noble than any of her friends." Baron couldn't even imagine how this could be done, and the coach also understood that their hands were all tied. In the prison where Kalli was sent, everyone already knew that he had beaten a nobleman and considered him a hero. Kalli thought that he again missed his chance to become a boxer, but if he had not saved the girl, he would regret it for the rest of his life. And then the day came when Kalli appeared in court. "Slave of the Egest family, Kalli, do you admit that you attacked a nobleman?" asked the judge. "Here are the victims of the attack, and this is proof of your crime." "Yes, I admit it," answered Kalli, and the people in the hall exploded with cries of executing him. The judge announced the verdict that the slave Kalli was sentenced to death for his crime. But at this time, the Duke of Wesley entered the courtroom and asked to be allowed to say a few words before the final verdict. This slave committed a serious crime, but now we have a harvest festival, a time when even the poor are treated well. I do not deny his crime, but I believe that he should die as a fighter. We currently have an ogre fighter from the Doraemon school, and the fight between a novice boxer and a giant will be a death penalty, but an honorable one for Kalli. Therefore, I continue to ask the Duke to schedule a duel between the ogre and Kalli as soon as possible. Of course, if Count Joseph agrees. Count Joseph was not against it, and the judge ruled that on the last day of the festival there would be a match between the Kalli and the ogre. "You're finished now, you dirty brat!" Junior Joseph shouted joyfully and left the courtroom. "If the God who brought me here exists," Kalli thought, "he must be interested in watching me try to reach the top, and I'll give him a good show. I'll survive until the very end and make it to the top." The guard took Kalli to the waiting room and said that he heard that Kalli fought for the honor of the lady, and he really respects such an act. The coach and his comrades came to him. Mantis said that he remembers how Kalli helped him and why he should be executed for such a noble deed that he committed. Torres admitted that in the beginning he despised Kalli for whining all the time, but now he respects him and asks him to stay alive. The ogre's powers are beyond our imagination. The coach said his only drawback is that he has absolutely no technique. "We wish you good luck," the friend said and left. Kalli was left alone with dark thoughts. "Now I have people who will mourn my death later. This is already good." Then the door of the waiting room opened, and Azalea appeared on the threshold, who came to visit Kalli. Kalli said that she needs to take care of herself more than him, because in a few days she was kidnapped by bandits, and then she got involved with a rare villain. "Then you need to protect me," and Azalea said further and kissed the young man. "Promise me, swear like last time that you will come out of this fight victorious." "You're stopping me from dying, lady," Kalli said. "I will have to protect you until you grow up." "Fight time, ogre," Doraemon said to his fighter. "In this fight you have no restrictions. This boy can be defeated in a more brutal way." The final battle marks the end of the Harvest Festival. The ogre executioner from the Doraemon school enters the arena. A criminal sentenced to death. Kalli is led into the ring by guards. "Tear him into pieces," the spectators shout from the stands. "Let these criminals learn to respect the laws." How huge he is, Kalli thought when he looked at his opponent. But at the same time he is very stupid. With such physical strength, he certainly doesn't need equipment. With one movement of his hand, he can kill his opponent. Kalli's first blow had no more effect on the ogre than a mosquito bite. No techniques could cope with the enormous animal physical strength that the fighter possessed. Even Kalli's strongest blow was a grain of sand for those huge muscles. He has physical strength, but no intelligence at all. He has an amazing physique, but he doesn't know that people use their minds to overcome their weaknesses, and new modern techniques that help them defeat a stronger enemy. It is people who use the fights of opponents who are stronger than them. Kalli knew this very well and prepared for battle. He came close to the ogre, and the audience decided that he had gone crazy and decided to end his life in this way. "Do you really want to stop the match?" Doraemon laughed. "Die with honor, fight." The ogre dealt a powerful blow, but without moving. Kalli swung to the side and the fighter's hand flew past without even touching the young man. Kalli swayed from side to side, dodged blows and realized that he needed to move even faster. He was too slow. But despite the fact that he was slightly late, he continued to fight with the brutal monster. The Duke watched the battle and said that only a gifted person could have such courage as Kalli fought, and the techniques that he uses can revolutionize boxing. He does not throw strong blows, but accumulates minor damage that he inflicts on his opponent. And now the ogre has lost calm and confidence, and in a rage, begins to make mistakes. Kalli managed to slip under the fighter's deadly fist, an instant, and he delivered a strong blow to the ogre's body. The spectators in the stands froze. They did not expect such a turn of events. "This is a whole new level of boxing," the Duke thinks with surprise. "This is a real revolution. I am very glad that I am present at the birth of a new style of wrestling." The enraged ogre swings to deliver a lightning-fast blow from above and smash his opponent's head. But at the same time he opens up, and Kalli realizes that now there is a chance. And with a blow, the back one hits the ogre's body. The blow is delivered with incredible force. Bake one, a blow with a tightly clenched fist, is not often used in modern boxing, because despite its destructive power, it is easy to calculate the trajectory of this blow. But not when the enemy is too stupid and doesn't know how to calculate the trajectory, because he doesn't even know what it is. The owner of the ogre, Doraemon, widened his eyes in surprise and shouted that this couldn't be true. "No one could defeat my ogre. This is his style," thinks Torres, who is watching the fight. He gives a deceptive impression and fights very creatively. Kalli's strategy in this case was not to strike at the opponent's head and neck, because with an ogre it was useless, but to exhaust the opponent and accumulate his damage. The larger the body, the faster the muscles get tired. Lack of oxygen in the blood is a common symptom in this case. However, this was Kalli's mistaken judgment. The crazy monster continued to move and attack. Although Kalli wanted to tire the enemy, instead he was tired himself and the ogre remained dangerous. From the terrible blow, Kalli flew far away and this blow seemed to knock all the air out of his lungs. If he had not moved away before the impact, his bones would have been shattered. But the ogre himself had already accumulated fatigue, and he was surprised to realize that instead of one Kalli, he saw three, and did not know which one to hit. This greatly surprised the monster. He had never encountered such an effect, because before, he always ended the fight very quickly, and he never had to move so much. Kalli carefully watched the reactions of his enemy, and realized that he was no less tired than he was, which meant that nothing human was alien to him. The ogre's time is up. Kalli realized that now is his last chance. The ogre is tired and needs to risk everything to deliver a blow of enormous force directly to the monster's unprotected chest. From such a blow, Kalli felt that he had sprained his wrist, but the ogre fell to his knee and could not catch his breath. Kalli immediately attacked again and struck his opponent's unprotected jaw. The ogre staggered and doubled over as Kalli continued his deadly dance. Jumping high, he brought his fist down on the unprotected neck of the ogre. Foam came out of the enemy's mouth, his eyes rolled back, his consciousness became foggy, and the huge body fell to the ground with such weight that the tremors from the shaking of the earth reached the stands. In the silence you could hear a fly flying by. One thought came to everyone sitting in the stadium. How can it be that an ogre is lying unconscious? If the ogre were a real boxer, Kalli thought at that time I would have no chance of winning. But suddenly an incredible thing happened. His eyes opened and he slowly but surely got up from the ground. Out of nowhere, the ogre, who had come by force, attacked the exhausted young man who now had no chance to survive. With a powerful kick to the chest, the monster threw Kalli up like football players sending a soccer ball far into the sky. How can he move so quickly after such injuries? Kalli was surprised as he missed another blow. He flew away again and realized that he felt the ball when professional athletes played football with it. When Kalli returned to Earth, the ogre stepped on his foot and prepared to end this long and difficult battle. With a huge hand, he grabbed the young man by the throat and lifted him to the height of his own height. And Kalli realized that his minutes were numbered. Of course, this is no longer boxing. This is just murder. Kalli is trying with her last strength to escape from the iron clutches of the ogre. And then a brilliant idea comes to his mind. He grabs the ogre by the hair and headbutts him right in the nose. The ogre, blinded by pain, grabs its head and releases its victim. Kalli flies to the ground. He tore off the ogre's ear. The audience is screaming, "What a barbaric method of combat." And Kalli notes that the orc's blood is the same red as all people's. "When will I kill you?" The monster growls and attacks Kalli in a blind rage, but Kalli throws a handful of sand in his eyes. "I admit that you are strong," Kalli thinks, "but although my bones are cracking and my stomach is curdling, I don't feel pain and I'm ready to hit you again and again because I'm already tired of you." Powerful knee strike hits its mark. This is no longer a battle between man and beast, but a battle between two animals. The Duke says watching this fight, and suddenly, without meaning to, he wishes the boy victory and the whole stadium picks him up, shouting Kalli's name. Amid shouts from the stands, Kalli throws punch after punch and nothing can stop him. The ogre tries to stop the fight, but he fails. Kalli's rage has overflowed its banks. "You won," the monster whispers with his last strength. This is his first defeat. To the roar of the stands, Kalli raises his hand high and the crowd honors the winner with the same enthusiasm with which they previously demanded his execution. But Kalli still remains a criminal, and he is immediately taken into custody by Count Joseph's soldiers. "And now I'm going to be executed," Kalli thinks, "because the crime must be punished." But suddenly, a stone thrown by someone's hand hits the guard's helmet straight. "What are you going to do? Leave him. Have mercy on him." Spectators in the stands react with outrage to Kalli's arrest. "We don't mind the guards answering, but we have superiors." The Duke believed that if Kalli was executed now, when the public expressed such sympathy for him, then the harvest festival would be ruined forever. People would not forgive them for this. Earl Joseph reluctantly admits that he does not want to get into an argument with the Duke because it could harm his family. He tells his son to leave and thinks that he will never forgive a jest for such humiliation of his family, and vows to destroy him. Malice and hatred overwhelm the younger Joseph. He hates this scoundrel Kalli like no other person on earth. And Kalli, despite the wounds his opponent inflicted on him, became a champion. It's a miracle that you survived. If you fought with such a body, then you have very strong willpower, the doctor at the hospital tells Kalli. But serious medical treatment requires a lot of money, and Baron Agest is so afraid of Count Joseph that he does not want to pay for a hospital for Kalli. The coach already wants to pay for Kalli's treatment from his own money, but then Azalea comes and gives the doctor a diamond earring, after which the doctor promises to do everything possible to cure the young man. Kalli comes to and sees Azalea next to her bed, who tells him that she is very glad that he survived. A week later, the Baron's squad goes home. Kalli is carried on a cart because he has not yet recovered. The Mantis tells him that now he is called Kalli the Ogre Slayer, and his fame has spread very far. Doctors said that the bones of the arm and ribs will heal very soon. The damage there is minor. But there may be problems with the leg because the ogre smashed it when he stepped on it. The path to the Duke's palace was difficult, but the path back was smooth. Kalli and his companions arrived at the estate and rested. 3 months passed and winter came. "I've been waiting for 3 months already," shouted the Baron. For 3 whole months he was very angry. Coach, explain to me why Kalli still walks on crutches? When will his leg fully recover? The leg is completely destroyed. The coach thinks it coincided with the period of growth, and most likely Kalli will forever remain crippled. Tell me, the Baron demands from Kalli, is it true that your leg will never recover? Everything is over. What's the point of being called an orc slayer if you can't use it? The Baron's rage knew no bounds, and now it's winter. We're running out of wood and flour. Everything is covered in snow, and it's all your fault, Kalli. You provoked the Joseph family. You should have died in the battle with the ogre, and then everything would have been all right with us. The trainer decides that he should not allow the Baron to exile and kill Kalli, and he says that even with a crippled leg, Kalli can become an excellent instructor and train good fighters. No, I refuse to be an instructor, Kalli says firmly. Determination rings in his voice. You're an idiot? Mantis cannot understand Kalli's decision because becoming an instructor is the best thing that can happen for a retired boxer. Kalli remembers the conversation with the coach and her firm decision to recover for the summer. The coach tells him that there are no ways to restore his leg. If there were, the coach himself would not be walking with a stick. Mantis believes that in addition to Kalli's leg, the ogre also injured Kalli's head because no one can cure such an injury. Torres also considers this a great stupidity, but Kalli, although not confident of success, is still going to remain a boxer. While Kalli was in the hospital, Mantis and Torres had already made a name for themselves by winning various matches. Of course, working as an instructor is stable and profitable, but it doesn't mean anything. I will take care of myself and fight to the end. And Kalli began to participate in the preparation of firewood for the entire castle. The servants thanked him for all his efforts. The servants noted that Kalli had grown and become stronger because he had already cut down many trees. When Kalli returned to his room, he was in a bad mood because he understood that the medicine of this time was very bad, and there was no technology that could help cure his leg. To his surprise, Azalea was sitting in his room and wanted to know how he was feeling. Kalli remembered that kiss when they both thought his death was inevitable and felt embarrassed. Azalea said that she came to say goodbye. Their estate is now very bad. Trade has stopped due to pressure from the Joseph family. The few traders are only occasional. There are no permanent ones left. The days are getting colder, and prices are rising. Soon there will be a shortage of even the necessary things. If this continues, they will not be able to survive the winter. I heard that everything was bad at the estate, but I didn't think it was that bad, replied Kalli. And what are you going to do? If we don't get the necessary products, we will have to make them ourselves. I have to go to work. Will your father go with you? No. He has completely lost his head and is so afraid of Count Joseph that he does not leave his room. If only I had the strength, Kalli said, I would help you. I heard that there are people so knowledgeable in medicine that they can raise the dead. Azalea said, if you go to another place you can find out more about such people. It doesn't matter, Kalli replied. There is no need to help the slave. But you saved me twice. That's quite enough reason. Azalea said, now even a girl who has just turned 20 has moved forward. Thought Kalli and I must not give up. A few days later, on a cold winter day, Kalli was chopping wood in the forest. Are you really a boxer? The lumberjacks asked him. Yes, here I am rehabilitating after an injury. We need workers, but we've never heard of injuries being treated this way. With my legs, it's impossible to practice boxing now, Kalli thought, and chopped down a tree with an axe. The worker saw that Kalli did not know how to use an axe at all and laughed. Look how you need it. The axe in his hands worked with great force, and the tree was cut down with 2 blows. Strength is not the main thing, the worker said. Power is used only at one time. This amazed Kalli, and he began to try to chop wood as the lumberjack showed him. And although his back and lower back hurt a lot, he didn't stop. Suddenly a lumberjack who had been going to another area came running and said that we urgently needed to leave here. He came across the tracks of a bear that came here in search of prey. From the size of the track we can say that the bear is young, and now people are in danger. He saw Kalli and asked who it was. The woodcutters said that it was the boxer who fought the ogre, and here he is recovering his leg. The lumberjack was very happy to see the champion here. Everyone was talking about his fight. Kalli was famous. If he is an ogre killer, then he can catch the bear, and the workers rejoiced. And Kalli wanted only one thing, to stop calling him by this ridiculous nickname.